Hello, Tangerines from Puebla City. Every time we go to a new city in Mexico, no matter how many we've been to, we show up and there are always things that shock and surprise us, and it literally does not matter how many videos we've seen or research we do. Not all good, not all bad, just shocking and surprising and awesome, and that all comes with travel. But we're going to tell you all about what shocked us in Puebla City today. The first thing that shocked us were how many fine dining restaurants there are in Puebla City. And not only are there a lot of fine dining restaurants, but they are adequately priced for the classiness of them. So in Morelia, we were talking about how reasonably priced the fancy restaurants are. Here, not really the case. You're going to be paying 250 pesos or more for the least expensive plate, and it just goes up from there.
Yeah, and I mean, comparing that to US prices, affordable still, but for our budget
and our budget, yes.
Yeah, we can't eat there. But that leads us into one thing that really shocked us about this city, and that's how wealthy it seems to be. There seems to be like maybe lots of industry here, lots of business. We were sitting at a restaurant and there goes a Lamborghini driving by.
So the next thing that shocked us in a very, very good way is how fast the internet here is in Puebla City. And we noticed it first in the Airbnb hotel we're staying, and then later going to cafes and restaurants where they have public Wi-Fi. It's really fast.
Yeah, good upload speeds and good download speeds. And in general, what have we seen in Mexico?
The bigger the city, the faster the internet. Of course, that has its exceptions, but for the most part, like Guadalajara was really fast. What's another one? Guadalajara was really fast. Morelia was also really fast.
As we've traveled through Mexico, we've been to a lot of cities now, and even in small towns, we typically still have fast enough internet to watch Netflix. That hasn't been the case in a couple towns, but typically it is.
Yeah, so you know, the small towns like San Blas was pretty slow internet, Ajijic internet was constant frustration for us. In our research, we found out that there's quite a lot of volcanoes around this area and in Puebla. Well, as we were driving in, I kept veering out to this mountain thinking, that looks a lot like a volcano, and I couldn't tell if there were clouds coming up or around it or whatever. And I was staring at it. Jordan's asleep because he was dealing with food poisoning. And finally he wakes up, I'm like, is that a volcano? No, we don't think it is. Well, no more than a few seconds later, kaboom! There's like this plume of giant smoke coming out of Volcán Popocatépetl, also known as Popo, I think. If I didn't pronounce that, I'm really sorry. But yeah, just a huge plume of smoke. Turns out that happens all the time, but I have never personally witnessed anything happening with volcano before, so I was like, what? Do we need to worry about this?
We mentioned in our last video that when we got into the city, we were like, oh my gosh, I'm not terrified to drive here. Like every other big city we've been to in Mexico.
Where people are constantly making psycho maneuvers and just throwing us off guard.
But someone commented saying, hey, that's because it's laid out on a grid system, and that makes a lot of sense because in many cities, although most of the cities settled by Spain were a grid around Centro, once you get outside of that, it seems like that's not always the case, and there's streets at lots of angles, periféricos going around the city, and
glorietas,
roundabouts, and all kinds of crazy stuff happening that just makes driving really intimidating.
So speaking of the Spanish, from our research we found out that this is one of the first places that the Spanish settled when they came to Mexico. When we came to Puebla City, something that surprised us were how many shoe stores there were, and this reminded us another place that we traveled, which is Madrid, Spain. So if that's the case, that the Spanish came here and brought a lot of influence historically, then that would explain all the shoe stores. And we don't know why that's such an important part of culture, but having new, nice shoes is something that's very prevalent in Spain.
And the number of shoe stores in Spain, or in Madrid, was
insane.
It was like every other store.
Speaking of Madrid though, now that I think about it, if someone had just planted us here, like here, in this area, I would straight up think it was Madrid because it looks that much like it with these walking streets and all the shopping and the buildings and the layout and everything. And also speaking of walking in streets, Something that I think I really took for granted back in the US was the nice sidewalks and the nice roads. You rarely hit a pothole, you rarely had these like kind of sidewalks. But something that's nice about Puebla City is that the sidewalks and the streets are really nice and well constructed. These are like some super solid stone, slate sidewalks and whatnot, and the walking streets.
But be careful, they get slippery.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, the literal first day we started walking around Puebla, I went and got myself a shot of espresso in the morning, and we were walking around, like getting ready to explore, and I slipped on almost nothing. The sidewalks are just so slippery. And
In some places.
In some places. And I spilled this espresso all over my white shirt. It was like, ugh. So we're not quite done with this video yet, but if you're liking it so far, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.
One thing that we mentioned in the video that we did about Morelia is the architecture, and we have to say the same thing here. In so many of these colonial cities in Mexico, there's just gorgeous architecture, and here it seems to be all over the city. But in addition to these old buildings and colonial architecture, you also have a brand new side of the city with new construction and new high-rises and whatnot.
I think something that personally shocked me about Puebla City was all the gorgeous tile work. And you often see this on the dome part of cathedrals, but here it's on so many other buildings, lining the windows, on the whole side of a building. I think it's so gorgeous, and in addition to the already beautiful architecture, you also have these tiles, which are just so pretty. So totally unrelated, but we're walking along this market here, and what the heck is this? It's like the building's falling down, or I've never seen anything like this in my life.
We did mention the colorful streets and colorful buildings in our last video, but we thought that was just like an isolated area. It turns out it's very prevalent here, and that adds a lot to the feel of the city.
Yeah, I personally think the more colorful the city is, the more joyful it feels and vibrant, and that can totally change the vibe of the whole city. And one of the reasons why we liked Ajijic, for instance, or Guanajuato, is that there's so much extra color it makes the city pop.
Wow.
Jordan's exclamation of choice. Wow.
One more thing that shocked us about Puebla is how many parks there are here, and especially this one in particular. This is called Zona Historica de los Fuertes. Within this gigantic park, we have this teleférico that we're going to go on. It's this tram that goes across the park. You have at least 3 museums within the park. There's a lake where you can rent paddle boats. Just so much here. It's unreal. I think we could spend days here and not see it all.
Yeah. This teleférico being 50 pesos for a round trip is actually pretty shocking compared to the prices of the rest of the city. We had said that the fine dining restaurants, they're prevalent and they're pretty pricey in the city, but the more we look around and the more parts of town that we go to, it's pretty obvious that the whole city is a lot more expensive. Still not Playa del Carmen expensive, but oh gosh. Oh my god. Okay, I'm awake now.
I thought those are gunshots, but they're rockets that people shoot off. Holy shit.
I hope medical isn't more expensive because I think I just had a heart attack. Oh gosh. So just to clarify, this is much cheaper than we would expect it to be compared to other prices in the city. You were thinking how much?
I thought it'd be about 200 pesos per person for round trip.
Another thing that we found pretty shocking when we came to Puebla City was the amount of honking here. And I already hear people in the comments like, well, honking is pretty normal in cities, but I'm talking about the amount of honking and how long people honk. If someone's blocking an intersection, people do not hesitate to lay on their horn for 30 seconds to a minute, and I'm not even exaggerating. It is like outrageous. And I think as a whole in Mexico, people are not as inclined to honk and just give people the space and be patient. So it is a little bit strange that there's so much honking in the city. So right now we're at this mirador looking out over all of Puebla City, and we can see how freaking gigantic this volcano is, because in comparison there's some mountains surrounding the city which are pretty big on their own, but then when you look at the volcano, which has steam coming out of it right now, still a little terrifying. It's, I don't know, 8 times, 9 times the size of these other huge mountains.
And this is the highest, or the second highest peak in Mexico. Let us know what you think. What do you like about Puebla? We think it's a pretty cool city.
So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please share it with someone you know if you think they would enjoy it too. Give it the old thumbs up if you liked it. And subscribe to our channel to see more of our adventures that we're having here in Mexico.
But one more thing.
Gong that bell so you get notified the next time we put out a new video. And I'll see you on the next one.